Hey guys, welcome back. This is HD, and it's time for game number 2 between NVCom and Liquid Jinro in this Star Wars tournament. The map is going to be Metalopolis, which is a pretty nice map, old school map actually. It's been around since the beta, in fact. Remember guys, remember back then when there was a nuclear missile falling on this area right here by TLO? I think that was back in the old days, in the classic good old days, and Metalopolis has really been around since the beginning of time. Just right next to Lost Temple in the Museum of Historic Maps. But we'll see what happens on this game. It is going to be a close spawn by air for both these players, and always when you see a close spawn by air, you immediately think, okay, dropships, air attacks, banshees, mutalisks. Air is very important, obviously, in Zerg vs. Terran, but even more emphasized when the players spawn right next to each other. So we'll see if that becomes a factor in these two players' build order and playstyles and what kind of units they start to pump out in this series. Remember, Jinro took a quick opening lead with I really can't say it was an inspired build or any kind of a creative attack or anything. It was just a standard 2 barracks opening, which Terran players do quite often. And I feel like NVCom just took a gamble. He rolled the dice and was hoping that the Terran player wasn't going to open with 2 barracks. If the Terran player doesn't open with 2 barracks, then your early hatch is pretty good. But if he opens with the 2 barracks, then you are in a bit of trouble, and it's very micro-intensive. It's possible to hold off, but it does take quite a bit of work, and Jinro showed that he was a better microist, if that's a word, a microer, than NVCom. And this time around, Jinro will once again be opening up with a double barracks, but it is not an early 2 barracks attack, nothing like an 11 double barracks. It's actually, the second barracks is going down around 15 supply. So it looks like both of them are rallied over to the hatchery once again, and NVCom is going for hatch first. So NVCom does seem to tend to favor this kind of a hatch first strategy. We'll see if he can defend it once again. I mean, I don't know what are you guys just lying to me? Because people email me and say this was an epic series, man, but then it just ends up being a double barracks bunker rush, which ends the game each time. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Once again, if you guys have any epic pro game replays, send them to me, hdreplays@gmail.com. I will take a look at it, recent preferred, and I'll go ahead and cast them. So here we go. Jinro is starting the move out. He's got a Marine, 2 Marines, and an SCV. This time around, not opting to pool 3 or 4 SCVs, so he may not actually be able to, he may not be as effective as last game, and of course, this time NVCom says, no way am I allowing that bunker to go up. He's pulling almost every drone off the mineral line to fight this off, and he's gonna get a Marine, loses a drone, so it's a pretty even battle. Gets another SCV, 2 SCVs to 1 drone, actually 1 SCV, 1 Marine, and 1 drone going down so far. And Jinro, no, saves his SCV at the last second, so he keeps a good tab on his units, doesn't allow them to die off, and pretty good micro to start things off. You guys can see that it's pretty even on the kill tab, and of course, back at the main, Jinro is going for a command center. So he is doing this very popular strategy, which is 2 barracks, fall back into an early orbital command, get a ton of SCVs up, and you basically use that 2 barracks to be aggressive and defensive at the same time. And it's working out quite well right now for Jinro, who is once again moving out across the map. Now, NVCom doesn't have a spine crawler, and I think this is a little bit risky. He feels that he has enough Zerglings, but he doesn't have speed. So if Jinro were to just push out with a very large army of Marines, that could have been disastrous for NVCom. But NVCom once again taking the gamble and hoping that Jinro is expanding, and in fact Jinro is. So things are actually working out pretty good for NVCom now, who is actually going to go for another hatchery. That is so bold. Wow. NVCom here seems to be a very macro-oriented player. He likes to get those early expansions up, and he likes to play a macro-style game. So things are falling much more in favor for Com this time around than they are for Jinro. Of course, because Jinro didn't end the game with an early attack, and now NVCom actually has pretty good map control and an expansion over Jinro, who is now actually throwing down 2 factories. So what we're seeing here for our Terran player, Jinro, is he's going to be going for a Marine Hellion timing attack. And this is a very effective strategy. Note he's also got Marines to protect the factories from being scouted by the wayward Overlord. So these factories are essentially in the dark, And Jinro is going to be going for a Marine Hellion timing attack, and it's going to be up to NVCom to defend against this. He's going to need a combination of either Banelings and Lings, or Roaches and Lings, or just Spine Crawlers and Queens. All these are obviously viable units that can work against the Hellions, and we'll see if he's going to be able to defend against it. Right now, Jinro is just bunkered down. He's inside, not physically bunkered down, obviously, but he's holding down the fort at his main, and he's just waiting for those Hellions. And he may just wait for Infernal Pre-Igniter as well. Yes, he's going to get that upgrade, and that's about 100 seconds away from finishing. So we're about a minute and 30 seconds, minute and 40 seconds from seeing the timing attack for Jinro. So about a minute and a half away, and I think NVCom should be well prepared for it. He's actually going to go for Baneling Nest. So he's going to have Lings and Banelings, which is actually, I think, is going to be really good. And oh wow, Jinro is going to be making an earlier push than expected, guys. This is a really high level of StarCraft when your opponent starts making timing pushes that you don't expect. I mean, you practice time and time again for the Hellion timing push in about a minute, but these Hellions are actually coming in just a little bit earlier then the Infernal Pre-Igniter, and this actually forces the Zerg player to kind of mix it up a little bit. He gets caught a little bit off guard, but it looks like Jinro is going to fall back. He's only moving in with one Hellion, so I guess he is going to wait for the Pre-Igniter after all. And this Hellion just going to be used for scouting. It does see the third hatchery, which is very important for Jinro, who now knows, okay, Zerg is on 3 base. I may need to get a third pretty soon. And Jinro is actually not moving out, even though his Pre-Igniter has now finished. So, you know what? He may just wait for Stim as well, which is pretty close to finishing on top of that, before he makes a pretty big move out. But actually, he's moving out with about 5 Hellions right now across the side of the map. And he may just decide to do a quick mass Hellion attack to try to roast up some drones, maybe kill off some Zerglings as well. In the middle of the map, meanwhile, we do have Marines using Comsat to scan the creep tumors and are starting to receive that creep a little bit. Lings coming in here, we'll be able to dispatch the Marines very easily. And here comes the Hellions, roasting up about 5 drones. Really nice play right there, and getting out of the way, away from those Banelings. Remember, Banelings are super effective against Hellions if they can hit, but Hellions can micro against Banelings really well because they have that speed, especially Banelings that do not have the speed bonus. Nice play so far by Jinro, getting about 5 drones, but it looks like he will lose the rest of these Hellions here. Really close. Yeah, he's going to lose the rest of his Hellions. And I think both players took a pretty even exchange. You know, Jinro killing off 5 or 6 drones is good, but losing 4 or 5 Hellions is bad. I think both players exchanged pretty evenly there. They're both happy with that. And now NVCom is going to be going for a Spire. So we're actually going to see Muta Baneling here. Wise to throw down the auxiliary hatch as well to help production. And we're basically going to be seeing Muta Baneling for our Zerg player, who is now starting to get those upgrades as well for Evo Chamber, for no doubt for the Ling, and maybe even later game Ultras for the Melee and Carapace. And as far as Jinro goes, he is going for... well, he doesn't actually have shields yet. Combat shields, where is that? There it is. So combat shields is on the way, and I think that Jinro is going to be going for a very standard Marine tank style, along with some dropships for support. So he is going to be going for a nice mixture in here. And hold that thought, I didn't see this. Not an Overlord, a dropship dropping off some Hellions here, but it didn't look like it did that much damage. If we pull up the workers kill tab, yeah, it doesn't look like he killed too many workers, maybe a couple. But Jinro here being creative, dropping off, and this is exactly what I was talking about. On this map, dropships are so key because you can harass the Zerg player constantly, and for Zergs, likewise, you can harass the Terran player as well. So let's see how many kills those Hellions got. Oh, they actually got quite a bit, and I'm not sure if that was from a previous attack or from the drop. So looks like those Hellions did some decent work. And it looks like Jinro may be gearing up for maybe another drop. He's repairing his Hellions right now and the dropship, so he is bringing them back up to full health. And in the meantime, moving on with once again another dropship down to the bottom corner. Nice little Zergling placement right here by NVCom just to prevent the command center from going down. And now NVCom does have Mutalisks. He is attacking a supply depot here. What he needs to do is actually get this dropship. And a dropship here once again moving in with those Hellions. And remember, they have that Pre-Igniter upgrade. And this time around, let's see how many drones these 3 Hellions get. They are going to roast up about 5 or 6 drones, make it 7 or 8. And man, those Hellions are doing some serious damage. NVCom losing a ton of drones. And as a result, wow, he's even going to let the dropship escape as well. And we remember, guys, we have another dropship moving out across the western board of the map. And 30 harvesters killed over 4. That is just disastrous. Once again, Hellions running into another expansion. Gonna kill off about 5 or 6 drones before they get picked off. But those blue flame Hellions have really set the tempo for this game. And NVCom is just scrambling to get enough Mutalisks out to prevent the dropships. But it almost seems like he just doesn't have enough map awareness to pick off dropships, to pick off these Hellions and these Marines, which have been just doing disastrous amounts of damage. If we pull up that worker's kill tab once again, look at that. 35 over 7. And the dropship's harass is still coming, guys. More Marines getting planted down at this expansion, which doesn't have any drones, thankfully. So NVCom should be able to defend against this pretty easily. Yes, indeed, he's bringing over his forces, and I think he should be able to save the hatchery. Yep, he does. And with the Mutalisks flying in inbound, they should be able to intercept the dropship. And this is important for Zerg players. You need those Mutalisks so you can intercept those dropships. That's the main reason why Zerg players get Mutalisks, short of harassing the mineral line. And it looks like he's going to be able to pick off the rest of those Marines. And good lord, look at how many Banelings NVCom's got. Wow, and he's making more as well. One thing I do have to say NVCom has been doing well this game is reproducing his drones. He hasn't allowed himself to fall behind in drone count. He's still got 62 compared to 64, and he's got a lot of Banelings, guys. Those Banelings are going to be massive and critical when the next big attack happens. And of course, Jinro is solely relying on Marine tank, and Banelings can be very effective against those clumped up groups of Marines. Also note, NVCom is going for Hive right now, so we are going to be probably seeing some Hive tech play in the next couple of minutes for NVCom. NVCom still flying around with those Mutalisks. Going to go in here, and no, don't attack that missile turret! The Thor in the back just doing some serious damage, laying down the savage javelin missiles on those Mutalisks, and the Mutalisks are forced to fall back. And NVCom right now is... let's see, he's got 4 hatcheries along with an auxiliary hatch, so he's essentially on 4 bases. Terran player is on 3 bases himself. So both these players are pretty much dead even, I've got to say. Even with those Hellion harasses, I think these 2 players are pretty even. In fact, NVCom favors a small army advantage, about 23 supply. So it's tough to tell right now who's going to win this game. Obviously, both these players are very evenly matched. We actually have Ultralisk Cavern and Greater Spire both being researched at the same time. Wow, so NVCom here is gonna... I don't know if he's going to go for Broodlords or if he's going to go for Ultralisks. Either unit is viable. I would assume Ultras because he's got, you know, melee and Carapace already, and his air units don't have any upgrades. But he is getting Greater Spire just in case, so we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Baneling's running in here, but no way is that going to be able to do any damage. That is a great fortification by Jinro, who's got using barracks to help protect that planetary fortress, along with siege tanks. And those Banelings just are not going to be able to do any damage. Meanwhile, Jinro is starting to slow push across the middle of the map. Note how he's using the plateaus here at the Xel'Naga Watchtower and the plateau in his main to help fortify the tank line, the slow push across the middle. And I think NVCom is just waiting here to make the attack happen. He's waiting to attack, but oh, loses a couple of Mutalisks at the center of the map. Not good. Loses another Mutalisk as well. Jinro picking off those Mutalisks, very important. And here we go, NVCom rolling in here. My goodness, that is so many Banelings. That is the largest amount of Banelings I have ever seen. NVCom here and opting to just almost go pure Banelings, and that may actually be enough to just brute force his way through Jinro's tank line. At the same time, the Marines have once again been dropped off inside the main, and these Marines could pick off the important buildings here, the Ultralisk Cavern and the Greater Spire. The Greater Spire goes down, the Ultralisk Cavern's still alive, Baneling's just waiting here, not really doing anything, and Jinro making that attack really happen and really count. Picking off the Greater Spire, extremely important. We do have 3 Ultralisks on the way. I feel like Jinro may have lost the war or the battle at the center of the map, but he may have won the long-term war of attrition by dropping into the main and picking up that Greater Spire. Now we're forcing NVCom to only make Ultralisks, and he's only actually got 3 on the way. Once again, another elevator drop of Marines inside the main of the Zerg player. And it looks like NVCom may not have enough. No, he's just not pulling the rest of his forces here. He's actually worried about the Marines that are coming across the southern side of the map, but he's going to be able to easily pick off those Marines, no problemo. And he picks those off quite easily. Now, the problem for NVCom is he has no way to deal with these dropships. Really, the dropships are going to be able to easily harass NVCom for the entire game. NVCom needs to get a new Spire up so he can make Mutalisks. Otherwise, these dropships are just going to be the death of him. And now, Jinro, once again, going in. He wants to pick off that Ultralisk Cavern. But the Ultras and Marines coming in will be able to deflect that. But, of course, with no Mutalisks, except for one, no Spire, the dropships are going to be able to run away. All the dropships are going to be able to safely make it back home. Jinro realizes that making a new Spire right now, it's on production, and he's actually coming across the southern side of this map here on Metalopolis. He's got a lot of lings, guys, but I don't know if it's enough to attack this planetary fortress. That is such a good Tetris wall that I almost would say that it is Baneling and Ling proof. And now Jinro is starting to slowly advance towards the center, grabbing the gold expansion. So key for our Terran player. And once again, we have another drop for Jinro here, going for the Ultralisk Cavern. The Ultras themselves are too slow to save their home, and the Ultralisk Cavern gets picked off. Beautiful play by Jinro, once again using those dropships to maximum effectiveness, and picks off the Ultralisk Cavern. We do have the Ultralisk Cavern, though, being remade. It looks like Jinro decides to just suicide the Marines after picking off the cavern. I guess he was trying to land them in the steam vents to try to do some more harass, but they get picked off. And this game is getting pretty intense, guys. 23 minutes in, and no clear decision on who's ahead or who's behind. Workers killed, though, really shows that Jinro has been on top of harass this game, whereas NVCom really hasn't been the same. He hasn't been able to kill that many workers. He is going to try to rectify that right now with Banelings. Is he going to go for the Marines or the Fortress? Actually gets a combination of both, but unable to kill either. And the planetary fortress remains alive. And essentially, that's just throwing Banelings away for free. So that's not good for NVCom, who right now is in a bit of a pickle, I feel. He does have a 5th base going up, so both players still even on economy. But NVCom, I just don't know if he's going to be able to deal with the large amounts of harvesters he's lost, and how he's unable to really protect his harvester line from constant drops and harass, just like this. Jinro once again dropping off more Marines inside this bottom expansion, and I guess this time around NVCom does have enough Mutalisks to pick that off, and he's going to run in here with all of his forces. Going to be able to pick off the dropships as well. Has to be careful, though. Is he going to chase the dropships? Yes, he is, but really there's the Thors and Marines back here. Oh my god, taking some serious damage by the Thor and the Marine combination. And NVCom here, once again, I think he's going to be making a defensive stand against these siege tanks. Doesn't want to allow them to siege right below his 5th expansion, and he's running in with all his Marines, or all his Banelings and Lings, and even his Ultralisk. I think he's got enough to break this tank line, but there are more tanks in the back. I don't know what's going to happen here. Both players just microing so much to try to defend here, and NVCom, he's got max upgrades on his Ultras, but it is not going to be enough to break these Marines. The Marines themselves have 2-3, so they're only missing 1 armor, and the Marines just barely enough to hold back the Ultralisk push. NVCom now has to fall back once again, and this game is seriously getting to the late game at 26 minutes in, with no clear decision on who's ahead or who's behind. Income tab still showing both players pretty much dead even. Army tab's dead even. Workers kill tab. Of course, Jinro favoring a huge lead in that. But once again, elevator drops for Liquid Jinro, who is dropping in the main and in the 5th base. He's coming in here with his Marines. NVCom wisely does have a couple spine crawlers here, which will help defend against a Marine drop. Once again, another kind of a harass attack here in the middle of the map, but the Marines quickly stimming out of the way. And these Marines, man, they're doing some serious damage, picking off drones once again. NVCom rolling with the Banelings, but the dropship able to load up and get out. And where are the Mutalisks? There's 8 Mutas on the map, but the Mutalisks are actually at the northern side of the map, being used to deflect that dropship attack. So NVCom is doing pretty well at defending one side to the drops, but he is really having issues defending against this side, and Jinro actually deciding to sack a couple of Marines to kill off Banelings as a trade. And And I think the dropship should be able to get picked off. Both these players in the super late game right now. And once again, another dropship coming in here. A reinforcing drop. And is it going to be enough Marines to take off this many Meatless? Going to be close? No, not quite. The reason why I said it's going to be close to this is because those Marines have so much upgrades, whereas the Meatless do not. And once again, another drop by Jinro. Jinro is just all over the place, guys. And he's even... Oh, no, he did not. Oh, no, he did not. He is building a planetary fortress at the middle of the map. This is actually a very viable strat in the late game on Metalopolis. This location is so important to hold down, along with this location right here, that why not? If you've got extra resources, build a planetary. Be a boss about it. And it's very difficult for Zerg players to handle that and basically attack across the 50-50 line. So... Jinro here is building a planetary fortress. He's starting to siege up into the Zerg 5th base once again. And good lord, NVCom has got so many Ultras. This whole time he's just been building up the biggest army of Ultras. I cannot believe how many Ultras. I just glanced over and saw that many. And here we go, gonna attack right into the planetary fortress. There are some Marines inside here which were able to pick off the 5th hatchery. The Ultras able to steamroll through this tank line. And the Marines just trying to hightail it out of there and get out and try to survive. Once again, more Marines trying to come in here and pick off the hatcheries. Jinro here actually in a lot of trouble. That is so many Ultras. The planetary fortress is not going to be able to hold on, and these SCVs and these planetaries are just going to all go down. All these Ultras are max upgraded. That is about 12 Ultras in total. Marines are still doing some good damage inside the 5th base and killing off drones, but I don't know if this small paltry attack force is enough to deal to really counterbalance the fact that the Ultras are just doing so much damage, guys. Jinro here is going to have to try to rebulk and remuster up a large enough army to deal with these Ultras, but now his production facilities are under attack. All these Ultras are just cleaving the barracks down, and 2 of the barracks with reactor cores going down. That's essentially 4 barracks. Jinro trying to hold the fort, but he's only got 2 tanks at the top here, and he's seriously bleeding. He's hemorrhaging from his arteries and his veins. Once again, NVCom coming in here with Lings and Banelings to try to stop this Marine attack, but I don't even think NVCom really needs to worry about that. He just needs to focus on his Ultra attack. He's got so many, they are max upgraded, and they are now in the heart of the Terran production facilities. If they can just stay there and hunker down, they can just do so much damage. They can kill off all the production facilities. Wisely, Jinro actually leading away 3 of the Ultras here, which is a smart decision, leading them into a planetary fortress as bait. Meanwhile, picks off a hatchery down here. I'm surprised that NVCom was not able to kill off these Marines sooner and actually ends up losing all of his mining bases, guys. NVCom has no more mining bases, but he still has 5 Ultralisks here. NVCom, I think, mismicroing at the end of this game a little bit, allowing some of his Ultralisks to get distracted. And now Jinro is just microing his Marines and picks off the last couple of Ultralisks. And wow, NVCom only has one Ultralisk alive now. And that last one just went down. And now, I don't know who's ahead in this game. I would actually have to say Jinro is, because Jinro was able to hold off that attack, that large stampede of Ultralisks. He was able to survive, and he was able to stop all mining for NVCom. NVCom now is in a desperate situation, and Jinro just pulled a hat trick out of his magical bag of tricks. And I just don't know what I just witnessed, but I guess Jinro now is going to take this game. I don't see how NVCom can win at this point. There's a Viking that has landed down between these 2 bases and is just using its Gatling gun to kill off drones, but unfortunately it's not the most effective. But yeah, the Viking eventually gets picked off. More Marines though dropping off. Once again, this is the only mining base for NVCom. NVCom needs to hold this off, but I don't think he has anything to do it with. And the drones pulling off the line. These are all the drones really that NVCom's got. Just 25 drones. And GG calls NVCom. Great play by Jinro. Beautifully played. Constantly harassing with his dropships all game long. And then the stand against the Ultralisk was just brilliant. Leading the Ultralists away, splitting them apart as from one large wolf pack into multiple different parties, and then able to kind of cleave them down. And along with that, Marines attacking the hatcheries the entire late game. Beautiful play by Jinro. and well played. GG, guys. That was an amazing game, a long game of StarCraft 2, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. HD gonna be signing out. Make sure to stay tuned and hit that yellow subscribe button. Thanks, guys.